I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up. Told her if it's all me, everything is on me. Gon' back it up. Matter what? Told you I'ma do me. Why you hating on me? It's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck. Country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm backed up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up. Only buying car cards to get tatted up. All that other bull, it don't matter much. You only climb me, I put the ladders up. No fault, I done doubled up on the workload. I think I fell in love with the bankroll. Pray up, get money, then we lay low. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro.
What's good, man? Team No Sleep.
What's happening with it?
It's December. It's Christmas month.
Yeah, man. We're a few weeks out. We all blessed to be here, man. A big shout out and a big prayers go out to those people in Denver. That whole situation.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, not Denver, but Michigan.
I mean, Michigan. Yeah. Let me get
Yeah,
you
man.
lined up.
I'm really sad about that situation. Shout out to my prayers go out to their families and everybody that was affected by that. And also my prayers go out to that young man that caused all that ruckus, man. And something definitely was disturbing with that young man to be able to do something like that. But in this trying times, man, I hope everybody send their prayers out to them.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you for bringing that up. I mean, and you just think about it, right? This is that season where we start what we should always, but making sure we're thankful for who we have, what we have, and not to take advantage of it, because literally in the blink of an eye, something could change and it could be for the worst. But you right now, you traveling, so you definitely making sure you getting quality time in with the extended family, right? You on the other side of the country right now, right?
Yeah, man. I'm in Minnesota right now. Traveling, getting some stuff set up out here, and just making my way around. As usual, just trying to take care of the family before we get to the festive holidays.
I love it.
Keep those 10 toes down and stay blessed. As usual. Man. But I mean, to be honest with you, man, just like hearing that story. Just definitely thankful for family, man, and family and friends, because, like you said, at any time, things they could be an altering change.
That's true. So, folks, if you take anything, as always, from Team No Sleep, right, we make you think a little bit more about certain things, but make sure you reach out to someone in your inner circle, so you have that contact. And look at that, right on cue. Senior pops in. I talked to the man this morning, so appreciate you, sir, for jumping in to the show today. Hey, man, let's go ahead and get focused. Let's get into it. We got someone sitting in the green room right now, and you brought a guest. Appreciate you for reaching in the Rolodex, right, and finding some more folks to come on. So I'm gonna let you do the introduction, and then we'll bring this young man on.
Absolutely, good friend of mine. A very community activist. He was an excellent athlete when he played football. He played in the NFL. He's definitely big in business, community things he does just for our surrounding community down in San Diego. And I believe he does some stuff in Miami as well as Dallas as well. But he has his hand stretched out to everyone just to be tapping into a lot of different things. So I wanted to bring him on. Because I think he has a lot of insight, especially for social impact. Men have always had in-depth conversations about things that are going on in the world, not only locally where we're in our area, but also just in general about things that happen in sports. So I thought he would be a perfect person to bring onto our show to be able to talk about some things that's going on and discuss some of the topics we got going on. So with further ado, my man, my ace, my dude, J.R. Tolver.
Look at you. You bring him on like Steve Harvey, right? From Kings of Comedy. Mr. Tolver, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Welcome to Team No Sleep. We put you in the big screen over there. Thank you for the time, man. We thank you for the time. Let's get into it, man. Talk to us. Tell the folks who, unfortunately, who may not know who you are. Give the folks that elevator pitch of who J.R. Tolver is.
Oh man, thanks for having me. I think Montell definitely did me justice. I grew up, had a little bit of a split childhood. So I grew up in Louisiana till I was about 12, Shreveport. And then I moved to San Diego. My dad's from Louisiana. My mom's from San Diego when I was 13. And so I kind of had the best of both worlds. I got to grow up in the South and kind of see, what that Southern hospitality is all about. And then when I moved to San Diego, got a chance to really see what the West Coast was about and the culture of the West Coast. So I tell people all the time, man, I had the best of both worlds as a kid. And ended up going to San Diego State, getting drafted by the Miami Dolphins, played in the NFL for about 4 years, became a high school football coach and athletic director, did that for about 6 years. Have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So most of my post-NFL career has been dabbling in businesses and entrepreneurship. So back in San Diego, and Montell touched on it. The one great thing about being an entrepreneur is you have the ability to impact your community in more ways than one. So try to do as much as I can in the community, especially with some of the local organizations here, and whether it's advice or capital or what have you, do what I can to impact the community that impacted me so much as a kid. So that is I.
Love it, man. Appreciate you. We're gonna get into some things too, because did my research and don't come on here being humble, brother. Look, we know what you can do. We know you know how to run routes and catch the ball, and you know what I'm saying. We all Mountain West Conference. We know about these things. Eventually, I want to get into a conversation, and I told you about this ahead of time too, about NIL, because I know you've done some conversation about that, and Montell and I have talked about this quite a bit because of this whole new paradigm that's affecting these young athletes today. But we always like to start Team No Sleep lately with kind of the social impact story, and we are going to go ahead and get into that one right now. We're going to give our flowers to Lee Elder, right? Lee Elder, first Black man to get out there and compete in the Masters. Unfortunately, we lost him this past week at the age of 87. And it's interesting to see that, when I first thought about this, I thought about, this is a guy probably who paved the way for someone like a Tiger Woods, right? And that goes without saying, but it's interesting to see, and it's actually comforting to see that more of the other big name players within golf are coming out and giving their respect and showing it's posthumous, but again, saying that, Lee Elder was actually a quality man, quality player, quality competitor, things of that nature. So when Jack comes out and said that, that actually kind of touched my heart to see some of those other giants within the game that come out and said that going out there, playing in Augusta, this black man, when it's not even integrated out there at first, but you were actually getting out there and competing, did decently well as well, when he played. But, what are your guys' thoughts about Lee Elder, and did you know much about him before kind of the news came out?
I can comment first. I knew a little bit about him, not as much as in depth as the article kind of detailed on him, but I felt that he opened the door for Calvin Pete, and obviously Calvin Pete opened the door for Tiger to be able to come here. I thought it was very interesting, and like you said, not only that they paid homage, but I also think that it was a sense of respect. Got to imagine this man, this black man was in the country club that doesn't allow blacks, that really didn't allow blacks to participate or at least join.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he kind of broke the ground to be able to participate, but to be able to participate with the best in the world and compete heavily. I just can imagine the doors that he opened for us, and I mean. It's crazy that there hasn't been more stories about him breaking ground in these types of fashions and everything like that. And I would hope this would encourage more African American youth to play golf. I mean, we had a big swing when Tiger was there, and then it kind of fell off. I hope in some way we can go back in our history and our roots and say, hey, it's okay for us to kind of get back in that realm and us playing golf again and kind of, playing that business game. That's the game where people discuss business all the time.
Yeah.
And kind of get back to that element again. How do you feel about it, JR?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point, and I didn't even know about Lee Elder until you guys told me about him. So I did a kind of a quick look there, and it kind of, it stings. Like, it's embarrassing, right? That somebody like me who grew up in sports has never heard of this man before. But that being said, I feel like it's really just a reminder that, some of the atrocities that African Americans have suffered weren't that long ago. 1975, when he, went to the Masters, that wasn't that long ago. I was born in 1980, so it happened before I was born. But that being said, we're talking about less than 50 years ago. So I think this is just another reminder, man, that, some of the stuff that we're fighting for as African Americans, we're fighting for it because, number one, we deserve it. But also number two, as much as you try to bury stuff in the history book, time is time. And say what you want. 46 years ago was not very long ago. Not very long ago, we had somebody who had to fight their way into a situation of equality. So to me, it's just a reminder that, yeah, we have come a long way, but it hasn't been that long. We still got a long way to go, and we need to continue to celebrate and talk about the people that took the arrows in the back so that people like Tiger, like myself, could actually have an opportunity to be successful in that in certain realms. So
that's good points, man. That's crazy, right? And y'all youngins, man. I'm sitting here with all this gray in my beard. I'm born in '69. Y'all young folks, okay.
Man,
right?
I got the gray in the beard now. Don't get it twisted.
You know what's interesting about this though? The first thing that came to my mind when I read the article, we just got over the Aubrey case, right? And we felt justice was kind of served, at least an equal hit. We got something back with the Aubrey case because they got found convicted guilty, and then we got a sense of history. Unfortunately, the man passed away, but now we get a sense of history where we come from, how far we, not how far we came, but look at the things we're still going through as far as the struggle as a race, as a culture, as that division between white and black. You know what I mean? This guy was barely able to go in there and play and compete. And here we go, we're dealing with a case where we were excited that the guys were found guilty of committing a crime against African-American men, because we thought they might get off. So it's kind of crazy kind of how everything kind of just, the synergy kind of connected for me when I read the article, because it was Augusta, Georgia, that happened right outside of Georgia, the Aubrey case, right outside of Atlanta.
Yeah, so, and interesting context that you put in there. So I'm gonna go off script, right? Because that's just what I do, and I'm gonna turn the tables on you, JR, and ask you again, kind of what Montell was just bringing up. So you went to college, San Diego. How was that, right? You walking on the field. Yeah, you were standout in high school as well, but were there any perceived pressures? Were there any issues again with you coming on and really having to overachieve, right, to get to the levels that you did at San Diego, and then competing in the NFL, right? Just when you were being drafted and when you were going through the combine and all of those activities, and you don't have to go into details if you don't want to, but again, just has this touched you personally from your sports career and from your athletic background?
It's crazy, man. I talk about this a little bit. So again, I grew up in Louisiana, where racism was very overt. Like, you knew if somebody didn't like you, they would tell you. I had many fights on playgrounds from people calling me the N-word that shouldn't be calling me the N-word. And this was as a kid, right? But when you come to San Diego, again, it's so diverse out here that it's very easy to make the assumption that doesn't exist. Racism doesn't exist. But what I found in San Diego is that it's arguably more covert. You don't have people coming up to you and necessarily saying things to you that show you that they don't like you because of your race, but there's maybe some covert underlying things that, through their actions, they're showing you that they don't like you because of your race. So I thought that for me, that was kind of interesting. It gave me a little bit of a different perspective. And honestly, like, which would you prefer? Personally, I would prefer to know if you like me or not, right?
Yeah,
If you're
that's an
saying in
interesting
my
point.
face and I
Yeah.
know you don't like me, then we're on the same page. I think the hardest part is the covertness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's when we talk about systemic issues, a lot of the issues that are kind of built into the system that catch African Americans in the system just by the way the system is set up and written. And again, it's tough, man. It's tough to again play a sport, thinking that everybody likes you just based off of the perception, but knowing that that's probably not the case.
There's some
Um,
underlying issues, right?
there's some
Mhm.
underlying issues there. So, and again, I mean, like you said, not to go off script, but to go off script, I look at all of the movement that's happening in college football right now, all of the head coaches that are, taking new jobs and new coaches are being hired. And I just find it odd that over 70% of football players at the D1 level are African American. And
Yeah.
somehow, some way, we have very few African American head coaches at the D1
Hey, don't
level.
trip. You're
So,
not going off
Hey,
script because that's literally the next topic right
JR,
there.
hold on, before we go into college, I want to go into the college thing too.
Yeah.
Let's stay in the NFL a little bit because I mean, with the racism thing, especially with the Gruden issue, like that underlining that situation. One, have
right.
you dealt with anything like that in the league, and were you surprised when you heard that about Gruden and other executives talking that way about African Americans and women? To be honest with you.
So this is why I say, like, I was very surprised.
Mm.
I was, but
Mhm.
should I be?
Mm.
Like, this is what I say.
Yeah.
This is where it
Okay.
gets
Yeah.
confusing, right? Because if you're playing a sport, you're assuming that everybody in that locker room, upstairs and downstairs, is there for the same reason, which is to win games. But not knowing that what's going on upstairs, there's a little bit of an underlying. It sucks, man. Yeah. I mean, so yes, I was very surprised. I did not think that anything like that would come out, but we've seen it time and time again. I mean, we saw it with the Clippers owner.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with the Phoenix
Phoenix.
Suns owner here
Yep.
recently.
Well, we're about to
Um,
see something with RG3, right? He's about to release this book talking
I
about
saw
the
that.
Washington team, right? So who knows what's going to be in that manuscript? Who knows, what he's going to say about them, that dysfunctional organization or perceived to be dysfunctional organization.
Yeah. So, the reality is it's there. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as an African American male, I need to be able to say that it's there. And as a, Caucasian male or female, we need to be comfortable saying that it's there because we can't address a problem that we don't acknowledge. So I think these things that have kind of come out have just showed us that, yes, we have come a long way. Things are not the way they were, but we still have a long way to go.
Let me ask a question before we go into the next topic as well, and then kind of turn this both on you guys, because you both are real highly involved with the youth, right, in terms of youth sports and things of that nature. Are you having these types of conversations with the youth athletes right now, again, about not and I don't want to say fitting in. That's just definitely not the right thing I want to say. I guess making sure that their talent speaks the volumes, that they go in and show respect for themselves, and other folks will hopefully show respect for them. I mean, what's the conversation that you're having with these 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade year olds that are out there competing as well?
So I'll jump first and I'll kick it to Montell. But, for me, I say don't use it as a crutch, but don't be surprised by it. Right. So again, go out there, work hard, know that your talents should be enough to separate you from the pack. But if you find out something came up that was keeping you back, don't be surprised by it, right? So don't use it as a crutch. The coach didn't bench you because you're black. Don't go into it with that mentality. But also, don't be surprised that if something pops up that shouldn't have popped up, don't be surprised by it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more brash with it, to be honest with you, when I talk to kids. I'm you know what? Especially when kids see, I deal with more kids that go to these rural towns. It's going to go to these smaller colleges where that diversity is not as much as a big school. So I make sure that I let them know that they have to be aware of the surroundings, and in those surroundings, there'll probably be some racial situations. There'll be racial situations with you interracial dating, because those schools don't have a lot of African American women, or they don't have a lot of diversity women that's there. So they tend to date outside the race and date Caucasian women. So sometimes there's a racial boundary in there in these situations. I always tell kids, don't let it stop you. Those few individuals that have those comments, or those few individuals that are gonna be in that situation, don't let it stop you. Because I keep it real. I go, this ain't gonna be the first time somebody called you the N-word, and it won't be the last. So why would you let that hinder what you're trying to do on the field or trying to do in the classroom in order to achieve your ultimate goal? And that's kind of the blunt way I put it, because you can't let those things discourage you, because we already know, whether it's in your face or whether it's like JR said, covert, you got to keep pushing through it in order to achieve your goals, because that way we can elevate ourselves to educate other people and to start to change our generational wealth and so on, and generational education. You can't let that stuff stop you, especially within the athletic realm. So that's kind of how I approach it with the kids.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Keep having the conversations, man, because those young minds are like sponges, and being a mentor, especially in the coaching realm, like you guys are, definitely critical for a lot of the young minds. JR, you talked about it. Let's go and get into it now. We got all these coaches, got all these folks moving from Louisiana, moving from Oklahoma, coming to California, or going somewhere and making a lot of money. Lincoln Riley headed to USC. No, not headed. He's in Southern Cal. This man right here is. Hold on. Let me find out how much money Lincoln Riley is making, because he signed some checks. Well, he gonna get some checks.
Yeah, I think he's 100 million plus.
So hold on.
They bought both his houses.
Yeah, so here go to the rumor, right? The terms of the contract.
Yeah.
$110 million.
But I mean, I think we were talking about it before on another show. They're not only buying him as a coach, but they're buying him in order to change that culture. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They brought them on to change that culture at USC, because right now it's not what they perceive to be, especially they're not winning. I think that's the same why they signed the brother at Michigan State, because he changed that culture and they like what he's doing. So instead of losing him to the NFL, they're going to pay him. The other ones, I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out. I know that Brian Kelly was his dream job to go to LSU, so he took it. I think more so than the coaches' movement, because we see this every year, but not the dollars haven't been this big. But JR, my question would be, where is the loyalty that they always speak about us as student athletes? We need to have, but obviously at this big stage, there is no loyalty with coaches. If the money's there and the job is there, they're bolting. I even heard the Oregon coach might bolt to Miami because that's where he's from.
Yeah.
So where's the tell me what you think about that aspect of the game.
Man, I think it's a business, and we know the youth football, Pop Warner High School is really not a business more times than not. I mean, some places it is, but more times than not, it's not. It's about the kids. It's about the development, the camaraderie, the loyalty, the teamwork. And I think the higher you go, the less it becomes about that, and the more it becomes about business. The problem is we hide that fact from the kids. So when Lincoln Riley goes into USC, he's going to go into the locker room of a kid and he's going to preach loyalty and family and virtues and values. And again, that's what kids are used to because that's why they play that sport. That's what they've always been taught. But the reality of the situation is the higher you go, the further from that the sport becomes. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it except for the fact that we don't tell kids the truth. You know, if I go to a college because of a coach and that coach is telling me he's going to be there with me, he's going to watch me develop, he's going to be there when I walk across the stage, knowing that he has a number in the back of his head or he has a destination in the back of his mind. And if he gets that call or if that number shows up, he's out of there. I just think it puts the kids at a disservice. So just tell kids the truth, man. We all grown men. We can handle it. The industry isn't designed that way right now, but I do believe that we got to be truthful with these kids as it pertains to the sport that they're playing and what it really is all about.
And the business aspect, because it's crazy. I think Brian Kelly, like the week before, right, he signed with LSU. He was up there at the podium saying, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. This is me. We gonna ride or die here at Notre Dame." And sure enough, as soon as they lost that game, the next day, right, he announced that he was going to LSU. And again, look at these insane numbers. Everyone knows Saban, right? Saban's not even the most highly paid coach right now. It's Lincoln Riley, $10+ million. Saban's number 2 at 9.8. Brian Kelly again at the 9.5. But it's and my guy Dabo's down there at number 5. You know, on number 6. Dabo down there 8.4. He just bringing in $8.4 million.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You know what I'm saying? He's trying to keep the lights on out there. But these numbers again are when you're trying to tell these kids that again. Get out there and compete. Get out there and do your best. But again, just like you were saying, Jar, if I hear a number on my phone and you know I check in with the boss and the wife says, "Yeah, we moving from Oklahoma now, we moving over to Southern California. Bags are packed." And again, where's that? Imagine that conversation that next day when you go tell your team that, "Sorry, it's me, it's not you. I'm leaving. You know, don't take it personal." But yeah.
The crazy thing, they're not even having. I mean, at least Brian Kelly, he texts his team.
He
didn't even have a conversation with him. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'm gone." But I mean, JR, I think you put it the best way I've ever heard it put about the business aspect, where the higher you go, the more of a business it becomes. And I think that you're right, that should resonate with more young men if you explain it to them that way. I've never even heard it explained that way until you just said it, to be honest. But the business aspect is a crucial aspect. And let's be perfectly honest, man, when you get in the real world, when you get past that teenage years, when you know, even if you go to the league or not, that when you get to about 22 years old, it's like, hey, it's all about, I got to figure out where I'm going to get my Benjamins from, right?
Yeah.
My paycheck from.
Yeah.
And I don't blame I really don't blame the coaches. If somebody's offering me an extra $1 million or offer me a lot of money to go change jobs or change locations, why wouldn't you take it? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Get your worth, right? I mean, go get them dollars. If you know you're worth it, you feel that you're worth it, you're confident in your capabilities and your abilities, and someone wants to pay you top dollar, and if
But
something dire isn't stopping you from moving.
But I find it interesting that the players now in college is becoming a business as well, right? With the portal opening, the NIL is now intact. So the business is now coming into the players' lives as well in this transition at that college age now, because you're able to make money now off your likeness, whether it be, if you don't like where you're at, you're able to transfer without sitting out now. You know, you could go where you want to without sitting out, especially if you're a grad transfer. So now they can do the same thing the coaches see. We always talk about the coaches leaving the players. Players leaving coaches every day, all day, right now. Starters that don't like being there, bench players that don't like being there. Doesn't matter the situation. If they don't like the situation, they're bolting out. So I hate the double-edged sword that cries. You know,
Mm.
We were here for coach, and now he's leaving. Oh, you know what? But we never talk about the player leaving the coach. He's always disgruntled, right? The player's always
Right.
coaches didn't like me or something, and he's just a disgruntled young man, so he's leaving. Well, it's starting to go both ways. I think the playing field's kind of leveraging who can leave when and where without no problem. So
Exactly. Perfect segue, because again, we go ahead, man.
No, it's kind of crazy. But I'm gonna ask a personal question that's really close to heart to JR.
Uh-oh.
The man Hope. A lot of opportunity opening up, and he's been winning the last 2 years. You can't tell me ain't nobody trying to poke the bear. Would you be upset if he left? And why?
You know what? I'd be surprised, just because this is his second go around. He did bolt the first time and went to Michigan. And again, I can understand why, right? It was his dream job. They put a lot of money on the table. But now he's back at San Diego State, and I think he's back at San Diego State because he really sees an opportunity to build something special at San Diego State. And I don't see him leaving for something bigger or better. He's already tested the the grass greener on the other side scenario. And he finds himself back in a situation that I think is not only perfect for the school, but it's perfect for him. So I would be very surprised if lightning struck twice and Coach Hope decided that the grass was greener somewhere else. I think just because of the experience that he had at State the first time and the experience that he's recreating now, I feel like he's pretty committed and entrenched to the program.
I like your answer. I do. I love your answer, but the answer why I don't think he's going to leave is because I believe San Diego State will be joining the Pac-12. I think they'll be the Pac-14 or the Pac-16, and I think it'll be announced at the end of this year. It makes no sense. Wow. They got the new stadium. They're winning. They've beaten the Pac-12 teams constantly for the last 2 years so they can compete. I believe them and Boise State will be the next additions to the Pac-12. Heard it here first.
I'll make sure to take a timestamp on that. Yeah, because we know the SEC is changing in a couple of years. The SEC is reforming in a couple of years. But okay, we'll see what happens with that.
Well, I mean, I think it just only makes sense to realign the two teams that have been so successful on the West Coast to join the Pac-12. And I know the Pac-12 commissioner said he wouldn't do it, but I think that was a smoke and mirror because he wasn't going to be able to get the Nebraskas and them guys to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now that San Diego State's a top 25, the top 20 team, Boise State was kind of flirting with being in the top 20 before the end of this year, before they kind of fell off. Both of those markets can handle being in the Pac-12. They've both been able to sustain. And San Diego State's building a new stadium, which is going to be able to be retrofit to be able to handle that. And I think Boise State has just got such a name state, they will be able to enter that. I think that's the main reason, not the lightning strike twice. I think Hokie and them know that, and I think San Diego State administration knows that. So there's no reason to bounce because you're going to be in a Power 5 conference anyway, and they'll be super competitive.
Like a reverse Brian Kelly. Yeah, listen at you. You over there trying to drop him, boy, like a reverse Brian Kelly. But I'll go ahead and give you something. I'll give you the Nas hit, brother. Okay. We'll see how that works out. Okay. I took a timestamp. We'll come back in a couple of years and see exactly how that worked out.
If that happens, I'm watch if that happens. I think that's gonna happen. It makes no sense not to happen. To me, it makes no sense not for it to happen.
Audience, who knows what this man is talking about? But he's got a crystal ball. He Montell has come through a couple of times and said and spit some facts that we didn't know what in the world he was talking about. But sure enough, it came to fruition. We started talking about NIL and I mentioned it earlier. Your thoughts on that, man? Because again, that just the fact that kind of like Montell was saying, players now have more of an upper hand, right? When it comes to where they want to be, where they want to stay, if they're riding the bench, if they're not playing, whatever the case may be, they can go to another college, university, get a deal with Popeye's Chicken and start making money off of passing out food, and they're making ton of money, right? 4, 5, 6 figures, whatever, and that works out for them. What are your thoughts, though? Again, we talked about this when it first came out. 17, 18, 19-year-olds now getting paid off of their name, image, and likeness, their brand, which they don't even have one yet. But just having, I'm gonna say, that clout, right, and that capability, that power, right, as it comes to where they want to be and where they want to play and where they want to put that name, image, and likeness out there. What are your thoughts on that, JR?
I like it, man. I like it because it puts the responsibility on players to educate themselves. What does it mean to be a business? What does it mean to operate as a business? I think that's a powerful, powerful lesson that anybody could learn. But if you're 19 or 20 years old and you actually have a business opportunity, it's going to force you to learn the fundamentals of business. So I like it. Some of the greatest things I've learned as a man in my life has been around business. And I wasn't forced to learn those things until I got into the business environment, which was after I got done playing. So I like this idea of college athletes being able to generate revenue from their name, image, and likeness. Not necessarily because, they're going to make a ton of money, but because I think the education, the financial literacy is going to be forced upon them at an earlier age. And I think as a society that can do nothing but make us better as a whole. So
I love it. Love it. I love it.
I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate on you though. Don't you think sometimes that divides a team, especially when you see someone that's making a whole lot of money, and there's other people that are not making a lot of money. We're all in a situation where we're competitive and we're human. If that person's not performing, one, there's always going to be that stigma on them if they're not performing and they're getting a lot of money. And two, if I feel you're getting a lot and I'm not getting any, there becomes, I think, a rift there. It's certain points when it comes to that team because they're all in the same thing and we all know, and I'll use an example like Masterpiece, plays basketball at Tennessee State. He signed that NIL for $1 million. You can't tell me there's not people on that team that's not jealous, not envious, not some probably even enraged that situation is going on. And I always think, I don't think we've seen the good of NIL. We haven't seen the ugly yet, but I think the ugly is going to come. And what I mean by the ugly is there will be people that are in desperate situations that may want to rob that person, even if you're teammates. People steal from teammates even when they're not rich. But so if they want to rob him or they want to put that person in a situation where it's physical harm or threatening manner because of that. And I think we haven't seen that part, but I think it comes as the more money comes and it's segmented out. I think there's going to be an ugly side to this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there'll be some downside. And to your point, we don't know what that is yet. We haven't really seen the fallout of it. I think the bond of a team is stronger than off the field jealousy and hate. And that's just being in an NFL locker room. I sat next to a guy whose paycheck was 10 times the size of mine. I felt jealous, right? I would love for his paycheck to be my paycheck. And I don't think there's anything odd about that. But at the same time, he's my teammate, right? And we're there for the same reason, which is to, go out and win football games. So I don't see that as a huge downside because again, the guys are in the locker room as teammates. You might be right. There might be some instances where guys take it to another level. Granted, I was in the NFL, so I was making money. There was just guys making more money than me. But in college, you might have some guys who aren't making anything, who are literally struggling, and the guy next to him is making a ton of money. And maybe that does put him in a certain state of mind. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. I guess it's all conjecture and projection at this point. But I like it because I feel like it gives everybody an equal opportunity to go out and be entrepreneurial, right? And whether you're Starbucks or you're Mira Mesa coffee shop, at the same time, we have the same opportunity, which is to sell coffee to people who want to buy it. I like having that level playing field because you'll find that some guys who aren't even on the field are going to end up making more money from their name, image, and likeness than guys who are starters.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to approach it as a business, and that to me that excites me.
I love that.
No, I think that's a beautiful thing. I got one more part about this too. Since we know about these things, obviously, like I said, Masterpiece Son making $1 million. What about the scrutiny and the pressure? Because now that we know you're making $1 million, even though it's not you got to pay for the school, but you're making that kind of money. You know, when you're not performing like you're supposed to be, or like the way people think you're supposed to be performing, that pressure and the media scrutiny. How do you think these young men are supposed to handle that? And are they going to teach them how to handle that? Because I think that's a huge deal for a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old who hasn't really experienced any life lessons or very few life lessons in that run. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're spot on. I'm gonna be honest with you because it's true, right? Like at the end of the day, if you sign a big contract, there's expectations that you're going to fulfill that contract. And if you don't, there's going to be scrutiny that comes with that. College kids haven't had to deal with that. Pro guys do, but also pro guys are older. Their frontal lobe is more developed, if not fully developed, right? So I agree with you, man. I think that that pressure, they say pressure don't bust people, it busts pipes, right? But I don't know. I think you're right. I think that some guys and gals could be in a position where that pressure is more than they bargained for.
Yeah, I agree.
Shouts out to Quint here, bringing in some good questions too. He was talking about, since he's coming from Nebraska, he was giving some props to Lexi's son, the volleyball player out there, and then he was talking about Spencer Rattler in terms of that last conversation.
The kid from Clemson too struggled this year, right? What's his name? DJ.
Yep, the Polynesian kid. You I forgot to pronounce his last name, but DJ. He struggled really hard this year.
Ukulele.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he struggled too, and you know, he got a bunch of money from Dr. Pepper, and then went out and kind of peppered down his leg the first couple of games. So. But yeah, listen, man, this is a whole new world, and time will tell how things develop for sure.
I was going to talk about we probably still about the MLB lockout because, you know, I'm a baseball guy, but, you know, I got two football savants right now. and something just came and hit me, and I'm interested in this, so I'm going to be selfish, but JR, as you came into the league, and we were wondering about this as well, still in line with NIL, the people around you, your squad that comes around you, your people, right? Is there kind of that initiation of, you know, this is what you should be doing with this wad of money that you're about to start getting? Are there folks that actually come sit you down and say, let's talk about opening up these bank accounts, let's talk about getting an attorney, let's talk about laying out all these pieces so you can not be broke in 3 years when you probably got a bad ankle or, you know, whatever the case may be. But again, you come into this newfound positive in the banking account. Are there folks that sit you down and talk to the young cats and say, you know, again, these are the best practices as opposed to going out and always getting the rims and always getting the jewelry and always getting the whatever. Does that happen? I know we on the outside, so we assume and we hear bits and pieces, but I'm just wondering again, did they have those types of opportunities for folks?
You know, so they have a lot of education opportunities. You know, they bring a lot of people to kind of come in and chat with guys about best practices. Yeah. I'm with you. I think that it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to take responsibility, sit a guy down, and make sure that he's doing it, or at the very least knows how to do it. Not just why to do it, why it's important, but how to do it. You know, I've heard stories of players who've gone into the NFL, they've gotten their signing bonus, and they didn't know how to deposit the money into the bank account, right? Like they're so used to, you know, Venmoing and Cash Apping or whatever that when you put a check in their hands, they're like, all right, so how do I?
Yeah.
So again, to me, I would love if these sports teams took a little bit more of a proactive approach to make sure that guys are checking the box, right? Checking the boxes. This is how you do it. This is where you do it. This is why you do it, as opposed to a lot of the lip service that happens. Hey, we're educating and we're teaching, but they're really kind of doing that just to kind of like identify themselves as liability, as opposed to really taking an interest into the players and saying, all right, look, we got 100 things that we need to do. You, me, and these 100 things, we're going to get these things done over the next 3 weeks so that I know that you're straight. So it's not as aggressive, I think, as it should be, which is why I think guys get in a little bit more trouble than they would if it were.
Wow. That's too bad. I'm glad you brought that up, man. But because, you know, just seems like you should have some people, right? When you come into just one of the largest organizations on the planet, and the NFL is powerful, right? And people don't kid yourself, right? And Roger Goodell is sitting; he's got some control over some things, and just when these players come in, they're the real draw, right there. I don't come to see Jerry Jones. I come to I come to see J.R. Tolver, you know, running down the side and breaking out on a slant. But I don't know.
JR, I talked to, you know, I know a lot of you guys, NFL guys. I talk to you guys a lot. And I remember one NFL player explained to me, he was like, and he got a big bonus, he got some pretty good money. And he was explaining to me, he's like, I'm literally broke. Even though I got this big signing bonus and my money, I'm broke. And he said, he broke it down to me. He said, my signing bonus, Uncle Sam takes half. Half is gone. Because I'm in the high tax bracket now. So Uncle Sam takes half of my bonus. That's great. My agent takes his percentage off of my whole one, not after my taxes, what I initially got. He takes that part. I'm in California because he was in San Diego. I have to have a place to live, so I could either buy or rent or whatnot. Maybe rent will save me some more money, but I would like to have something I can have. So he's like staying in California. A big chunk of it's gone. That's gone now. Not only that, but paying off any bad debt my parents have, trying to help them out and dealing with that stuff. A little bit chunk of that's gone, and now I'm left with this much to basically last me on my weekly paychecks and my bonus until I can get my second contract. Which basically, I'm living better than the average person, but I'm damn sure not living on top of the hill where I'm making all this money. What people think, the perception is you got all this money because they say, hey, you got a $3 million signing bonus and this is your contract. But he's like, in reality, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
The money's gone, and my agent's going to continue to get paid. He's going to continue to get paid. I have to pay an accountant. I have to pay a lawyer. So my money, that $3 million that I got, it's really 1.5 that was in my hand, and that 1.5 that I got is basically dwindling down in 50,000 chunks by the minute. It's going because I got to pay these people in order to make sure I maintain at least a decent lifestyle for why I'm here. Because if I get hurt or anything happens, this is all I have to live off of.
That's a good perspective, man. I never thought about it that way.
JR, is that right? Is that kind of accurate or no?
Yeah, and I think going back to this NIL situation, I think this is why players need to understand that they're not, you know, we kind of glorify players as rich employees, high income earning or high net worth individuals, but they're not. They're high revenue businesses. And if you look at any business on earth, right, businesses are designed to generate revenue and then to create a profit. So the problem I think with players is that when they're taught to approach themselves as a high income earning employee, they're thinking this money that's in this bank account is mine. And that's where they get in trouble. If I'm a business owner, I know that every dollar that comes in, you know, a nickel has to go to rent, 7 cents has to go to marketing, 14 cents has to go to block, and then I have 10 cents left over or 15 cents left over for myself, right? And so I really believe that this is a really cool opportunity for players to start thinking about what does it mean to be a high revenue business as opposed to a high income earning employee. And I think that little shift in thought will release some of the tension and anxiety of everybody's trying to grab at my money. Because when you're a business, yes, everybody's grabbing at your landlord, the payroll company, me, the insurance
that new
guy.
cousin that just came out of the woodwork,
straight up, right?
Yeah.
So I really believe, like I said, NIL is going to teach players how to operate and think like businessmen, like CEOs, and that's going to put them in position to capitalize a little bit better on their playing career.
Wow,
that should be your first classroom at San Diego State. You should have a little classroom right there.
For real, man. I mean, so exactly. I was going to ask, so how do we make that change, right? How do we do the Michael Jackson, right? Stand in the mirror, and that there it is, right there. Go out there and talk to these folks about the fact that they are the business, right? They are the ones that should be in control of that destiny, and just draw that picture on the whiteboard of $1, just kind of like you just did right now. 10 cents going here, 20 cents going there. You got 5 cents to go buy some top ramen from the store or whatever. And this is what you got left. That's the education that again, I just feel that especially just a lot of folks, and we've said about this before, coming from nothing or coming from very little, and now they got a little bit of scratch in their pocket. Right? Just don't leave them rims alone. Leave all that jewelry alone. Do the better thing. Do the smarter thing, and just having people talk about that.
But I do think it's interesting. I think you're right, JR. It needs to start now at the collegiate level with the NIL since it's starting to become that way.
Yeah.
But I also believe though that it's not a seminar. What you're talking about, it's a class. It's not a 1 hour or 2 hour seminar. I could teach you all this. It's a class that I need to teach you, and you need this to be hammered in your head for hours and hours for you to understand how to not only to get it in theory, but also how to apply it.
Bro, and listen, this is like what football players do, right? You put us in a classroom, you teach us the playbook, we go out on the field, we try to execute what you just taught us, and then we come back in the classroom and watch the film and review and correct, right? Yep. And you're absolutely right. Athletes are the perfect source of teaching if you teach them how they're used to learning. If you sit an athlete down and you say, I'm going to teach you about business for the next 60 minutes, good luck. Well, good luck with them taking that information and doing something with it. But to your point, Montell, if you teach them and then they do, and then you review with them what they did, and then you teach them again, and then they do, and then you review, they are going to get it, right?
Yes.
And so I totally agree with you, man. I think we just spend too much time talking at guys and not enough time showing them the process, putting them in position to do it, reviewing what they did, teaching them something new. And again, that's how all athletes learn, that's how we all learn.
That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like
that's the point I'm getting at. I don't understand the NFL, especially NFL. Why they're playing, we have the most millionaires, but we also have the most people that go bankruptcy 5 years afterwards. They lose whatever they lose. And it's because they are not teaching them. It's like you said, it's the lip service. Hey, you have the hour and a half symposium that they talk about financial literacy and tell you, hey, get with this person if you can, if you want to. I'm sorry, I'm a 22-year-old person just became into like $5 million.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not trying to hear anything. I think I'm big balling, and it's not resonating with me right now. But I do believe if it was mandatory at the collegiate level, like you said now, and even in the NFL, show, apply, review. Show, reply, review.
Boy, he breaking it down right now, boy.
Till you see success. Till you start so they can understand the success. And I think that's the difference between retired players like yourself and other players that are very successful in business and the ones that aren't. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. The ones that aren't, that when broken, lost all of it, didn't gain that. They didn't gain that knowledge along the way. So I appreciate that, man. That's so smart and so well articulated the way you put it.
All right.
You're right. That's it right there, man. They go to class right there. We charge what, $19.99 for to attend that. That's it, right? So we were leaning towards NFL, talking a lot about that because you guys have specific insight to that. And I wonder, does this translate across the other sports, especially sports like baseball, where there is no salary cap, where you got where you got folks like this dude right here, Corey Sear, pulling in $325 million for 10 years, right? Shortstop, leaving the Dodgers, going over to Texas. Are they well, even though they're on lockout right now, so ain't nobody doing any talking, but do they talk to their players, do you think, about, again, financial literacy and about managing these large sums of cash coming into their wallets?
I think that
I say, oh, go ahead, JR, go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, I think the difference between NFL, MLB, and NBA is the ability to make mistakes and bounce back from it. So when you're in the NBA or the MLB, you can make a financial mistake and recover because you make more money and your money is guaranteed. When you're in the NFL, your money is not guaranteed, and you're literally at the bottom of the total pole in terms of the money that you earn. So you just don't have the room, the freedom to make a mistake, knowing that you can bounce back from it, right? So again, I don't necessarily know how the MLB and the NBA approaches and teaches their players, but I do know that if a player is going to be a knucklehead and decides not to listen in the MLB or the NBA, they just have a little bit more latitude as it pertains to bouncing back from a bad financial decision.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they're educated a little bit more differently, and you're right because they can make a mistake. I mean, we have examples. Allen Iverson, right? Allen Iverson made a lot of financial mistakes, but someone was smart enough to tell him to put that money away until he gets to be 40, and now he's about to be a gazillionaire again. Yeah. So, but again, like you said, his money is guaranteed, and they're able to put that money away. Where in the NFL, it's not like that. So it needs to be taught differently between each entity and what you're dealing with. I just see the NFL because there's so many mass numbers. There's a mass numbers of guys that are playing, and it's a mass numbers of guys that come and go really fast.
Yeah.
There's no one educating when you're in, and there's definitely nobody educating when you're on your way out. You know what I mean? It's just basically, hey, good luck. You made some money. Good luck. Figure out what you're going to do with it. And then a lot of those guys, I mean, if you don't have the power to know, you just resort back to what you know. Spending, and there's nothing coming in, and it's very hard to say when you ain't never had to save before, right? You don't understand how those ramifications come. So I think the NFL needs to do a better job in that, as well as a lot of other things. But I mean, that's one of the things I think they need to teach young guys that are coming into some money.
Truth. Look at that. We didn't talk about one single score. I told you there. We stay away from just them superficial. Isn't somebody playing tonight too? I can't recall. It's Thursday.
Dallas,
somebody playing. I know my Steelers aren't playing, so I ain't worried about that. I know them Seahawks aren't playing either. God, though they don't. Well, we're not gonna get into that because there's a lot of Seattle fans out here in this area, and I don't want nobody coming around my house throwing toilet paper. But hey, Jay, we appreciate you, man. Okay, so
hey,
it's the hold on, Saints in Dallas.
Bro.
What, did Dallas still playing? Is that behind? Well, see, I'm gonna leave that alone too. I'm gonna leave that. Yeah, you wealth of knowledge, man. Appreciate you coming, Team No Sleep, chopping it up with us a little bit. Won't be cognizant of your time, man. Don't want to keep you all night, but we could go all night. Look, but I know Montell on the East Coast right now. He trying to get some sleep.
Oh no,
But
no, I'm good, man. I mean, this is all enlightening. Before we do wrap up, though,
yeah,
I want to send a prayer to C.J. Stroud and his family. You know, the young man that was in the NFL untimely death to an unfortunate situation. I pray for his family, everybody in that whole situation, people that were affected. Hope everything's okay. But on the other end, man, like JR, bro, like I said, you just always, every time we talk, we always go into deep conversations. Very enlightening, very business savvy and sharp, and understands the ins and outs how it works with athletes and professional athletes, where he has the experience that I don't. So I really do appreciate the conversation, and man, you sharing with our audience like how that stuff works and how how you see it from your view, because your lens is completely different than ours. So I appreciate that.
Nah, man, you like you said, I think our perspectives are different, our experiences are different, but usually two halves make a whole. So especially watching what you and Ruben do in the community, and it just inspires me to continue to stay involved and have conversations and help out any way that I can. So the sentiment is mutual, my good man. I learned a lot from you, man. Get a lot from our relationship, and looking forward to continuing to build with you for years and years to come.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got your links for all of your social media going to be in the description, so folks can definitely follow you, what you're doing in the community, what you're doing from a business side, and what you're tweeting out and all that stuff, so folks can hook up with you. You got the keys to the front door now, man. So in Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, if I see you come through the backstage here, I'm gonna let you through. So you are definitely welcome, sir, to come and join us at any time. We hope you do. There it is. Look at that, two halves make a whole. I'm not gonna say nothing else. I'm just gonna drop it right there. That's it right there. We good, Montell? We good?
We good, man. Everybody stay 10 toes down and blessed every day. Appreciate it.
Out, y'all.